You see, the way I see it is that a lot of people, especially here in America, they have first world problems. They literally live so privileged that they have the privilege to complain about absolutely everything. And that's how you get a bunch of people that are grown babies, adult babies everywhere. You see, me and my brother grew up in a whole different world. It wasn't nice, pretty suburban neighborhoods. Life was rough. It was rough out there. We come from a different time in a different world. And we actually talk about it in this video. And we had to be tough. Not like nowadays that everybody has the benefit of complaining about petty things. Let's get into the video.
I mean, and the memories, some of them are so bright and happy, and some of them are so shameful. It's a mixed bag, you know what I mean? But they're very strong memories. You understand what I mean?
That's the core. That's the core,
Yeah,
bro. Like if
because my
you're a tree, if you're a tree, when you're being a sapling determines how strong of a tree you're gonna be, bro.
that's a good analogy, bro. That's a nice analogy. Yeah, it's true, but because my adult memories, they feel different, they hit different. But my childhood memories, they're like, God damn, bro. Especially the happiness or like the joy that I used to feel about being a kid.
The best thing that ever happened in my life was that my mom couldn't deal with me, and she sent me to Orlando, to Florida, because I was the most popular Latino kid in school. Damn, Latino. I was the most popular Puerto Rican kid in school. That's messed up. Bro, I was so popular, bro. I was so popular. I loved it, bro. It was one of the best experiences of my life, bro, because
I know.
it really was like an American school with lockers and it had cliques, the goth kids, the jocks. It really gave me the whole movie experience how we usually see in the movies.
Yep.
And that's really what, bro. How did I learn how to kiss with girls? How did I learn to do anything with girls? That's where I lost my virginity back in Florida when I was 15, bro. Like that's where everything happened, bro. It was like I remember being in a competition. I was such a bragger about it too that I remember purposely telling my friends, "Let's do a competition. Whoever gets the most phone numbers," because I knew I was gonna win.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, and the crazy thing about it, and this is the dark side of it, right? I when I first got there, they didn't even know I talked English. So they put me in Spanish, like the lowest Spanish. So it was filled with a lot of people from Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and those were my friends when I first started. But then I got so popular that I abandoned them, and I still feel bad about that till this day because they were considered a group of losers. And I became so popular that I was hanging out with the popular kids and stuff. They were all,
Yeah.
and until this day, I regret because those guys were like really good friends. They were losers, but they were losers because society, they were really
Yeah.
cool people. They were really cool people, but I gave my back like they were dead to me, bro. And
Damn.
damn, yeah, I know that was the work, but at the same time, for me, that was the biggest moment, the biggest. It was a very big shift for me that I needed to experience, in my opinion. And
Oh yes.
if I would have chose to be with them, I would have missed out on that moment in my life. You feel me?
Yeah. It's because I completely understand it because I when I was specifically in the seventh grade, since both of us weren't going to school that much,
Yeah.
I got sent to a lot of different schools, and one of the schools that I got sent to was un colegio. How do you call a colegio? It
Uh,
was like a private school.
Private
It
schools,
was
facts.
it was a private school. It was a Catholic private school,
Damn,
and the
look at you
environment.
going to private schools, bro.
Yeah, no, it's because my mom got desperate. She saw that I wasn't going to public
Damn.
schools, and she asked me why, and I told her the environment is too dangerous for me. But I always felt, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I always felt when I was growing up, I felt I had the imposter syndrome, which is I can basically fit along with a lot of my local guys, like Bebe, Michael, all those people, right? I
Yeah.
could fit in there with there, but I'm not really being myself. As
Yeah.
how deep I am inside. The people that I was able to be myself were people like you, people like Giovanni, to an extent, Jonathan, like some of my real friends. That's were the people that I felt I could be myself. You know what I mean? But at the
Yeah.
same time, I had this pressure of being this other guy that needed to impress the other local boys. You know what I mean? And that wasn't me. But I remember the one thing that I could relate with them is that I like basketball, you know. So I
Yeah.
got very heavy into basketball, and I love that period of my life. It was the period where I was the most healthy in my life. I was the most active. I was playing basketball, loving it, bro. Every time I would wake up with like enthusiastic to get my
Oh,
ball and go into the court, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I met some friends there's like Gabi, and I got really good at basketball, especially locally in my place.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
got really good.
street basketball, which is, in my opinion, even harder than regular basketball.
Yeah, I got really good to the point where I was like, among my age, I was like among the best. Bro, I remember playing basketball with grown-ups or like people that were in their early
Yeah,
20s,
yeah.
and
I
I was
remember.
cooking them, bro.
Yeah, I
I was
remember they
cooking
used
them.
to come to our hood from other hoods to play basketball, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I used to do that too, bro. So I remember being like a kid, like cooking some adults, cooking some young adults, and then going like, "Damn, you play really good, kid," or like, "Damn, I should take you to this league, or you should play in a league," because I used to cook them, bro, as a kid. Um,
That
Bro,
must
that
have been a
reminds
good
me.
experience, bro.
It was a good experience, but thankfully they never shot me, because over here, I mean, we had thugs, but they didn't have guns. You know what I mean? At
No,
least.
like you were lucky because they did have guns. That was there. Of course, they had guns. The thing about it is that there was no thug with a gun playing basketball. There was, you feel me? The thugs, the real thugs with guns, were out there doing other stuff. And the crazy thing about it is that you're right. You were always very wholesome. Because I remember when things got real, you used to dip. You used to be like, nope, guys, you do you. I'm out. I
Hey,
remember when things got real, that we used to get crazy. You didn't like it. I remember you used to really not like it and really be against it. Because I remember we were kind of delinquents, to be honest. Especially when I was hanging out with Jonathan.
mhm.
We used to really, everything used to be fine, and all of a sudden, like, we turn a corner, and I remember this. We used to turn a corner, and it was always something unhinged. It was always something unhinged, and I can't. There's so many things I can't say about how the levels of unhingedness. But I remember you used to have the awareness back then to know that, yeah, this is unhinged, guys. You know?
Yes, it's because I started. I was dealing, like I said, I had like an imposter syndrome. I wanted to be friends with the local guys, but every time they got into trouble, I started to realize I don't get enjoyment out of this. I really don't get. In fact, it weighs on my conscience. It does the opposite. Because I remember some of my friends like Bebe and Michael. They used to go into the basketball court, right? And they would get eggs and they would chuck them at cars, passing
Okay.
cars.
Yeah.
And I remember they invited me one day, and
Yeah.
I made this whole big speech about,
Oh
hey yo, bro,
my! You
never
were
invite me.
did you Lisa them? Did you
I
Lisa
I did that,
them?
Lisa. Yeah, I made this whole big speech of like, hey, listen, don't invite me to that because they started making fun of me. Like, "Hey, bro," they started calling me the Good Samaritan and stuff. I
Kyle.
look at this guy. He's too good to be throwing extra car. And I'm like, yeah, yes, I am, bro. I don't. I flat out told them, bro. I don't enjoy doing stuff like that. I, I naturally reject it because it's doing harmful stuff to other people that don't deserve it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that was
Um,
crazy. Yeah, I
and I
mean,
made.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I
how you
told them,
did it.
bro.
I didn't have a conscience back then. That's a fact. Like, whenever I think about the things I did back then, and It's like I think about it now, and I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? You understand? There was so many moments where I could have, somebody could have lost their life. There were so many moments where I could have lost my life. You know, there were so many moments that I could have ruined my life completely in jail or whatever, bro. And it was funny. It was funny. It was fun. There was something about. I think that's why I like horror games. It gives me an adrenaline. I've my whole life I've been addicted to this rush. This this thing because when I was growing up, I used to get in situations that legitly scared me to the core, but I still used to do them. You understand? And
Hey yo, bro. I can tell you one specific situation that scared the hell out of me. It's one of the biggest scares that I had in my whole life.
okay,
Um, I was walking near Bayola where we live with Ismael, and there was a row of houses right behind Bayola. Um, and I was walking down the street with him, and he grabbed a big ass rock, and he just threw it into the house, into the door, and it rang an alarm, very loud, and I think it messed up the door really badly. And he just started running. He didn't
yeah,
tell me he was gonna do this.
yeah,
He just did it, and he started running. And I'm like, shit, now I gotta run too. God damn it! And
yeah,
I started to run, bro. And a nearby car started chasing us. Uh, for real. Like I thought it was the owner of the house. I couldn't have been the owner. I think it was just like a good Samaritan guy that was like,
yeah.
hey, what are these kids doing? Um, so he started chasing us with a car. And bro, that I felt like my life was gonna end. I was running. It was like a movie. I'm like just running, 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 running. And then I remember I went to hide in the parking lot of Pueblo,
Yeah.
the supermarket that was nearby, right in front of our house. And I remember just being so scared for my life because
Damn!
Ismael did that shit. I never wanted to do that shit. Okay, it
That's
was him that did it,
crazy.
but I'm guilty. I'm guilty by association
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It's not like
Dude,
if
I used to
yeah,
do that to Jesus. To me, that was just a Tuesday. I used to do that to I used to do that to Jesus all the time. You know how many situations I got Jesus into, bro?
yeah. The
Dude,
thing is, I
that's
got I get
crazy.
I got in situations like that, and I decided that enough is enough, bro. Like I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to feel like this. It doesn't feel right to me to be that way. So I
That's
just
crazy.
laid it out to my friends and people that were close to me. If you're gonna do that shit, don't invite me, cause I'm not gonna do it. Like you said, I'm gonna dip out in some way or another. I'm gonna leave the scene. I'm like, bro, not for me. See you later. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
yeah.
not for nothing, but you were smart. You were smart that way, you know, because it's not like I didn't get myself into a lot of sketchy situations. You were, but at the same time, you didn't find it fun. I used to find it hilarious. I don't know why.
Exactly. It just
I don't
weighed
know
on my
why.
conscience. You know what I mean?
My God, that something like that is just trivial, bro. I remember throwing stuff at actual people. Oh my God, let me shut up. But yeah, yeah, like that was crazy, bro. Like that's why nowadays I have such tolerance with these kids, and like not for nothing. It's because I was so unhinged that I have so
True.
much tolerance with these kids in Roblox, bro. That's why. Because I was literally there's nothing these kids could do that could outdo me back in the day.
Hey,
You
yo, bro,
understand?
that's no lie. When I started making friends online, because obviously I don't live in the United States, so when I started making friends online that were American or from different countries, we used to talk about our upbringing. And bro, I'm not gonna lie, most of the friends that I made online, they never did half of the stuff that we did as
Nope.
kids.
Nope.
Not even half of it. I'm talking about they never had girlfriends. They never got into a fight.
Bro, they're
They
still
they
virgins to this day and stuff,
they're
bro. Like,
virgins to everything,
oh my
you know what
God.
I mean? I was like, bro, you didn't do any of that for me. Doing that stuff was normal.
Yeah,
You
getting
know
in
what I mean?
fights, getting in trouble with the police, like getting in trouble with your life, dude. Like girls being scared of somebody pregnant. That was like, bro, we lived on hinge.
We did,
even
we did.
even though you were more on the safer side, we were still outdoing these kids nowadays.
I couldn't help avoid that because that was the reality around me. You know what I
Bro,
mean?
that was crazy,
Hey
bro.
yo, I remember that's when I met Gio, and Gio kind of introduced me to this new rich kid's life with his rich kid's friends and all that. Um, I saw how different they lived. They didn't
Different.
live in they didn't live in this constant violent ghetto type of
It
place. They
was
lived.
it was so refreshing.
I know, right? Right? They were like rich kids
That's
that were partying.
it was easy to like that world. That's why I kind of liked it. I liked hanging out with you and Giovanni and Javier and stuff because it was such a different vibe, bro. It
It
was
was,
such a
yes.
it was like you're right. I'm tired of running from my life, running from the law, getting in trouble. I'm tired of crimes. I kind of want to chill. You feel me?
Yep. And
Besides,
it was a
yeah,
it was like the vibe that you get once you get to your early 20s and you can choose your friends, who your real friends are, and you can go out to party with them and nothing gets out of hand and stuff like that.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
now you're more in control of your friend group. You don't have to you don't have to like win them over by being fake or anything like that.
yeah.
You're in your group
You
with
don't
your
have
own
to
people.
prove yourself or anything. Everybody's just chill.
Exactly. That's what kind of felt like kind of what it felt like. And not only that, it was a huge shift for me because when I started hanging out with them, I started to like rock music instead of rap music. Because you were like me when we grow up, our local environment was rap music all day, local
Yeah,
rap music.
yeah.
And I used to
Reggaeton,
like it,
yeah,
don't get me
yeah,
wrong. I
yeah.
like it. Bad Bunny wasn't a thing back there, okay, people?
Oh
Bad Bunny
my
wasn't
God.
even like, I don't even know what Bad Bunny was doing back
Yeah,
then. He was a little
but
bunny. He was
he
a
was.
little baby bunny back then.
I don't know how old he is, bro. He might be a millennial. I don't know.
That is to say that Bad Bunny is not an OG artist. And when I had that pressure taken off of me, and I could be like, hey, yo, you don't need to do that. Go hang out with the street kids and be a musician. I'm like, yeah, I much prefer that. This is way better than trying to be a violent guy or trying to be the man in the hood or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
that took a lot of pressure off for me, and that's when I felt like I was starting to live my real life. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, bro. I remember I used to play the guitar, and my local friends, they were like, "You play the guitar?" They didn't even know. Uh, and a bunch of them, they were like, a bunch of them respected it a little bit because, but at the same time, they were local rappers or whatever.
So it's crazy because the thing about it is that that part, even though we shared that world, that part of that world was a phase for me. It was a while. It's not like I stayed there. I didn't stay hanging out with those people. I didn't stay being their friends. Not only because uh they always saw me different. They always did see me different. Like I was always the odd one out because I was fully caco.
Bro, I remember when Giovanni used to introduce me to his rocker friends. The first thing that he would say, it was a disclaimer, and it was
Yeah,
this disclaimer: "This is my friend. He's a caco, but he's all right." He
that's
would
some
always
crazy
introduce
stuff.
me to his group of friends. Este es mi amigo, es caco, pero el brega. ¿Tú me entiendes?
Yeah,
Uh,
but
uh,
but
and they just accepted me, bro. They did.
yeah, they tried to accept me, but I guess it was a little different for me because you were in that chill vibe. You feel me? I was always looking. I just couldn't be tranquilo. I couldn't be chill, bro. I couldn't be chill. I couldn't be chill all day like they could. I always had to do something. You
You know
understand?
what, bro? To be truly real with you, I felt that because here's the thing about this is super real, bro. Here's the thing about me and you. We were together. We were really together at points in our life, but there were other points in our life where we didn't interact with each other at all.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? There's long periods of gaps in time where we were on and off. We were really hanging together, and other times we were just not. And I remember when you came back from Orlando specifically, like you said, you had earrings and shit. And I remember thinking, wow, this is a whole different vibe that from the guy that I knew, you know?
yeah.
Um, and yeah, you were more cool, and but you were also more dangerous, bro. You were really into more, like you said, like you're saying, all the unhinged stuff. Um, it's true. Like I realized, I remember that time, and I was like, okay, he changed. But the thing is that I always liked you a lot, because I always thought, even if he changed, the the Roberto that I always knew, he's still in there. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's technically true, but yeah, my life experience were pretty messed up. They were pretty messed up. Like, it's like, for example, the reason I say it is because you say all these fake rappers that used to be thugs, but the thing about it is that to me, that world was very real. There was no pretending, you know?
for me, I felt like I was pretending it. That's the whole difference, I guess, between you and me. I felt like I was pretending, and I
To
didn't like it because of that.
yeah, I was exposed to gun violence. I was exposed to people dying. I was exposed to the drug trade. I was exposed to moments where, if you didn't have the balls, like, you wouldn't be able to survive, and that didn't stop in my life for a while. For a while, that didn't stop.
Exactly, bro. I felt that's exactly the kind of pressure that I'm talking about that I felt growing up through my whole life, and I rejected it. Eventually, once I got old enough, I realized that I could reject it. At the beginning of my life, I didn't know that I could reject that stuff because that was literally everybody in my environment. But once I got a taste of a different environment, I'm like, okay, now I can reject that other one that I never liked. But still, you know what? Even when I became a rocker and I became more like that type of people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
I still kept my friends, my local friends, but they just
yeah,
knew that I was different. And the thing that bonded me with them is that I still play basketball with them. You know what I mean? I
yeah, yeah.
still, hey, yo, bro. Even remember there was a disconnect once I got my Nintendo. Uh, there was there was a disconnect about me and my local friends because my local friends were very much about sports. Once I got my first console, I'm like, bro, sorry, I'm a gamer now. Sorry to all my
Yeah,
friends. I am
yeah.
obsessed with video games now.
Dude,
Okay?
that is literally the one thing we have in common because when consoles came around, for a fact, for example, PS2, during the PS2 era, my life, I was doing a lot of things in my life, a lot of things, a lot of sketchy things. And it was the PS2 that really used to pull me away from all of it. You feel me?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Dude, and not for nothing, like, you would be so into it. You will be so into it that you literally lose money, bro. You literally lose money, but you're like, wow, I'm too into this game. I'm too into this game, bro. Facts.
Hey, yo,
Facts.
bro, I remember even younger than that when like I said, once I was in the Nintendo era, that's when I realized that I have a console, and not all of my friends are into gaming. Some of them are. Uh, but it was the minority of them. But I
Ain't that
remember
crazy how times change, bro?
it was because people don't understand now. Now being a gamer is a really normal thing. It's in
Normal.
mainstream now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But back when we were gamers, it was a niche thing.
Yeah.
Liking anime, liking Nintendo, liking all that stuff was very niche. Uh, if you were lucky, you would find one friend that was into it or two friends. If you were lucky, because the rest of them, not only they didn't know it even existed, bro. You know what I mean? They weren't tuning into that world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Facts.
but bro,
Even
but
we
bro,
were we were there in the anime too. That was a very niche too. We were there
exactly.
first.